Hello, everyone, and we got some spicy news for you. First of all, another crypto scam. This one was supposedly endorsed by none other than Chuck Norris. But the endorsed or claimed to be endorsed CEO turns out to be fake. Now, I didn't hear about Chuck Norris endorsing this person, never even heard about this. It's going to be called Hyperverse. So I'm not really sure if Norris endorsed it or not. And maybe they just made up that Chuck Norris endorsed it and he actually didn't. However, it did seem to gain some traction. I never really heard about it, but they lost $1.3 billion in investors' funds. And that's not very good. And it also sullies Chuck Norris's name, whether he endorsed it or not, because some people are going to listen to this and think he endorsed it anyways. So obviously, the SEC is going to be paying them a visit. And Hyperverse is promoted by Australian entrepreneur down under Sam Lee and his business partner Ryan Shu. So basically, it's a founders of the now collapsed Australian Bitcoin company Blockchain Global has been scrutinized for its deceptive practices. Yes, when your CEO is a fake person, it definitely raises questions. And the investigation raises concerns about the legitimacy of Hyperverse's CEO as the qualifications and credentials attributed to the supposed chief executives, Stephen Reese Lewis, have no basis. So it looks like this is a fake person. Not only a CEO with like fake credentials, just a fake person altogether. And that's not very good, especially when you say Chuck Norris has endorsed you, because he does not like endorsing fake people. So furthermore, there are no records of Lewis on the UK Companies Register, Companies House, or the US SEC. Interestingly, Adobe, a publicly listed company, also has no record of any acquisition involving a company owned by Stephen Reese Lewis. So it does not seem like this person exists, or they just took some poor bloke's name and put it on the docket. So the report indicates that Hyperverse managed to secure celebrity endorsements, including video messages of support from Steve Wozniak, which is the Apple guy, and actor Chuck Norris. And we don't really know how the messages were obtained. They could actually be faked. But of course, all the celebrities mentioned are actually available for hire through Cameo. And of course, you can pay individuals can pay high-profile individuals to read scripted messages. So they probably did that to gain some credibility. He's going to be having a visit from the SEC for his $1.3 billion worth of losses. But that's not his most pressing problem. Because supposedly Chuck Norris endorsed him, and it was a fraud that sullies Chuck Norris's honorable name. So he'll be getting a visit from Chuck Norris too. And even if he is an illusion, Chuck Norris knows how to roundhouse kick illusions and make the scammer feel it in reality as well. So he will have many more problems than the SEC in the form of a Chuck Norris roundhouse kick to the face. And all these people supporting him, from like Sam Lee and Ryan Shu and now collapsed Australian Bitcoin company, they'll be getting a visit from the authorities as well as Chuck himself. And Chuck, I hear, is not very happy with these people. So they might get a delivery of a roundhouse kick to the face if they don't be careful, because that's what Chuck Norris does to all people that upset him. And he is very upset because he does not like his name sullied to be involved in these kind of scams, because Chuck Norris is not a scammer. He does not need scams to take your money. He has his own ways of taking your money, and they involve roundhouse kicks to the face. So Bloomberg analyst has chimed in on the ETF rumors. If you don't know, we had rumors today that the ETF would be approved tomorrow. However, he sort of dispels that, but not really. He actually doesn't have any inside information. He's just guessing with his most educated guess. And he still thinks the approval date is somewhere between the 8th and the 10th, which is Monday through Wednesday. The date that they're all focusing on, January 10th, has not changed. So the rumor looks like just be a byword of the mouth by a reporter. She could be right, she could be wrong. We don't really know. Bloomberg's cryptocurrency analyst James Seifert stated in a statement that, contrary to rumors, he did not predict that Bitcoin spot ETF approvals would come tomorrow, and that he thought the approval date would be between Jan 8th and Jan 10th. I think what he says is probably more likely. But it doesn't really matter. A difference of a couple of days is like completely irrelevant. What he says is probably more accurate because the SEC does like to wait until the last moment on these things. So we will see who's right come tomorrow. My guess is like Steifert's going to be right. But, like a difference of 2 or 3 days is not really going to matter. So, of course, like previously, Reuters and Fox Business claimed that approvals could come on January 2nd or 3rd. But, of course, that did not happen. Of course, Bloomberg, which is like more of a financial analyst, says like there's no further developments on the news. And they are focusing on, especially on January 10th. And that's the final decision date for ARK Invest BTC spot ETF application. I also think that's the date for 21 shares as well. So there's 2 that's actually due on that specific date. And because they are actually on that specific date, like the SEC has to make a decision. They could reject it, but seeing their loss to Grayscale, the court is actually pushing them to more or less approve the ETF. Now, they can think of another reason, but it's been heard that 3 of the commissioners on the board actually favor approval. And since there's only 5 commissioners on the council, 3 of the commissioners being in favor of it would actually be enough to actually approve it. In the case of a rejection, applicant companies are expected to file a lawsuit with the SEC. And of course, since Grayscale already beat the SEC and made them go running home with their tail between their legs, I don't think they're in for another legal fight because it would be pretty devastating if they lost again. And trust me, judges remember these things and they remember other cases. So the SEC would be none too popular with judges if they actually did that. And of course, that's going to affect how the judges rule, obviously. If you keep on bringing the same case over and over again, they tend to not change their mind if they've already ruled against you once. So the SEC is kind of like trapped and cornered in this particular situation. So obviously we have that to actually look forward to. And of course, Invest Answers is already promoting the Jupe token, the Jupiter token. And he says it could be the hottest token of the year. Now, Jupiter is having their airdrop at the end of this month on Solana, and it will be one of the biggest airdrops of the year. However, it is a massive, massive airdrop. 40% of all Jupiter tokens are going to be dropped. And that's a lot of coins, and there's probably going to be a lot of sells. So I'm going to guess there's going to be a pretty decent sell-off initially from the Jupiter tokens that are actually dropped. Because, if you drop 40% of the supply all at once, people are going to have a lot of coins to actually sell, and there might not be enough buyers. So I do expect price to go down once it actually hits. So basically, like he tells us 464,000 subscribers, that's how much Invest Answers has, that to pay attention when the decentralized DEX Jupiter launches a token. So I don't really know if it starts dumping, how far it's actually going to dump. But, if you can pick some up towards the bottom, I think it could actually be worth it. So basically this is exactly what you call a black hole or an S-cover or whatever you want to call it. Jupiter Exchange, remember there is no Jupe token out right now, so do not go buy a fake one. There are about 10 fake ones. But the Jupiter Exchange hit a record all-time high of 16.64 billion in trading volume for the month of December. So a lot of people are actually using Jupiter. So this could actually be like the Uniswap drop. Now, let me remind you, right after the Uniswap drop, the coin actually fell quite a bit in price, but it went back up later. I would actually sell some of the coin on the drop and then hold some to see if we can actually gain value later. I feel like that's probably the best play. Holding all of it seems a little too risky. So Invest Answers says, before we start, one should note that we are not optimizing for hype or price or perfect price discovery, so please save your eyes if you expect any of those. We will not focus on the short-sighted optimizations. This opinion, while unpopular with many in the community and CT, our crypto Twitter, is a hill I will die on. Instead, we will focus on Jupiter for learning with everyone openly on how to launch a token on-chain that aligns with the needs of the airdrop recipients, buyers, traders, team funding needs, bots, and the rest of the ecosystem. We will have launch test parties, do a lot of explainers, share scaling plans openly, host a lot of discussions in the next 3 days, and do a post-mortem. So essentially, more or less, I do expect a drop in price when you release that many into the ecosystem. And if Jupiter really has that much volume, if it can maintain that much volume, the price will probably go back up. So you might actually be wanting to pay attention a day or two afterwards, because it actually could be a really good time to pick up some really cheap Jupiter tokens. I mean, they're saying it's not optimizing by price, but they are promoting the hell out of this. And of course, Jupiter has used this like really large airdrop to promote their coin as well, so it gets out to as many people as possible. Let's not forget Solana already has a DEX, so there will actually be competition, but there are people actually using the Jupiter exchange. So obviously it's going to have a market as well. There's going to be a lot of competition. You know, Radium is still out there. CERM I think is dead, but there are other DEXs as well out there. So it's not really going to be this. It's not really going to be this sole one. It is a swap aggregator and a perpetual exchange, so it's not exactly the same as a traditional DEX. I'm not really a huge fan of aggregators. I generally think the big DEXs work better, but the perpetual exchange that's actually been built on it should actually carve out a pretty good niche on Solana. So watch for Jupiter, see if the coin drops a day or two after launch, and see if you can't pick it up for a really nice price. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.